No swearing, please, Mrs. M. We're live now. Just
Okay.
having a quick look at the Luzodoku. Anyway, let's get going.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP. Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with the good morning. The Munsons here with the good morning. Tudo bem? Como estás? How are you this morning?
I thought you were asking me. You're asking everyone, aren't you? Isn't that lovely? Good morning, everyone.
I am asking the person who hears the question, such as the intimacy of the broadcast and radio scenario. Yeah. So how you doing? It is International Green Turtleneck Day today, isn't it? So we're celebrating with our green turtlenecks. And if you weren't aware of this international global celebration, please go grab your green turtleneck now. Probably can get one from the Chinese shop actually for a couple of euros, can't you? If that's how I got this one. It was my Christmas jersey from last year. In actual fact, I have subsequently taken off the LED lighting from it. It wasn't built in as standard Chinese shop. I pimped my jumper, so to speak. Well, what a start to the show! Pimping one's jumper, pimping one's woolly.
Well, you have to be very careful how you say pimping one's woolly. You do. But what should probably be explained is the fact that it doesn't look like you're in a green jumper at all. And that's because of it looks like you're in a navy jumper because of the green screen.
Green screen technology. Yeah.
but it has been recognised that we've both got roll neck tops on, both green.
Yes. Turtle, polo, roll neck. All of the above will do. And yes, International Green roll neck sweater day all over the world. We're celebrating.
It's just in our household.
There's a special day. There's a special day for everything across the world. I've realised now I haven't done the GMP banner that should be across. The screen is looking a little bit naked. So I wonder if you could fill for me for a minute or two while I do that. Is that okay?
Yeah, I guess. So
such a trooper.
Where should we start? Like, what should we talk about? What's the theme of today's show, Cole?
The theme of today's show is I see what you did there. Indie Portugal Thursday, and we have the wonderful Fabrizio and Ian from Project Lisboeta, and they're here establishing their monthly residency. Usually what happens when people debut with their monthly residency, we like to find out a little bit about them so you know who you're dealing with, and they'll tell us their backstory of why they chose Portugal, why they chose Lisbon specifically, and they're a lot of fun. You may have seen them before on the screen, but we'll have a lot of fun at around 9 o'clock this morning. Turtle's Head Day. I think we missed that one this year, didn't we? Not quite. Nice try. God Squad tip of the day in. Based on my fitness advice that I gave yesterday. Can you believe that?
Really?
Reba McIntyre has some deep thoughts, or at least one. James is in with a cue this from Marianne Williamson. Excellent. So
I can't see all these. Where are they?
They're in the comments.
I'm looking at the comments.
Seriously,
all I can see is Thunderduck and Slug and Ian.
All you can see is
and Solar Life Portugal.
That's Pete. Pete with
his
turn. Yeah. Okay. Well, yes, all of that I mentioned is buried deep within the excellent contributions of Ian, T-Duck, and James this morning. Have we got what's gone?
You were reading something out like Reba. I was thinking there was somebody called Reba who was in the thread who I couldn't see.
I think it's a little bit of a sleepy morning this morning. I did comment to you, didn't I, that time seems to be going quite slowly, as if the roller coaster ride, the chronological roller coaster ride that we've been on in the last few days, weeks, and months, possibly last couple of years.
Months, I would say.
Yes,
Actually, years since we've met.
Oh, I hope you mean that in a good way. But so
Yeah.
I couldn't. Normally I'm thinking, oh, the show's about to start. The show's about to start. And this morning I was thinking, wow, it just seems like everything's gone very still and time has slowed down this morning. Is that what happens when you put the clocks back as well? I wonder.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like we've been rudely awakened a little bit today by the incessant banging of our neighbours.
Obviously, okay.
Who doesn't like that first thing in the morning? No, we've got a neighbour that's having their house completely gutted, and it sounds like they're actually destroying the home and have been for many weeks.
I can't believe there's anything left inside there. It must just be a shell now.
I imagine so.
Yeah.
The really strange thing is, like, at the end of the day, you see an elderly couple sat on their veranda. It almost looks like they're in rocking chairs. And it seems like quite an incongruous scene because they're surrounded by this metal guard. There's this metal guard around the whole house. So you can't park anywhere near. And maybe for flying debris, I don't know. But it's like they're caged and then on a veranda as well. It sounds like we're in hell.
That sounds like we're proper curtain twitchers, actually. And did you just say debris as though you were from Porto? You said debris, didn't you? That's not how we need to say it, is it?
Well, when you're how do we normally say it?
Debris and detritus. Debris and
no, you know what? That's just one of your affectations that I've picked up on. Because you have many. One of many. I mean, you have lots of like detritus being one of them. Like you have this love of saying words in a slightly unusual way.
Like Porto.
And putting a lot of emphasis on them.
I merely report how others.
And it becomes part of our Munson lexicon, doesn't it? So
it does. Yes.
Even the kids say it. It's weird. Hearing a 3-year-old talking about. I don't know.
Mother, I have filled my nappy with detritus. Please change me. He doesn't.
Mom, I'm about to have anus collapsus. Please help me.
That is not. Oh, that was one of my father's, actually, and I don't wish to talk about that any further. So let's move on. There we go. I've done the banner now anyway. It's Indie Portugal Thursday. Fabrizio and Ian of Project Lisbon at 9. Before that, fingers crossed. Weather news, your shout out. So get them into the chat, please. Please send the community contributions of pics, videos, and updates, of course, to the WhatsApp number 913-590-303. First into the WhatsApp line this morning. I don't know their name, but they say to me, "Good morning, sir / ma'am. I saw that your live viewers and video views is very little number. I can help you." Well, thank you very much, whoever you are, with your number ending in 385. But we're happy with organic growth, and who doesn't like a little bit of organic growth?
And also, something doesn't quite sound all there, in that lovely invitation. It sounds like someone pretending to be English whilst not actually speaking fluent English.
No, but I'm not prejudicing my response on that basis. I just think it's not the best approach, is it, to say, "Oh, I see your viewers are very little." Maybe he's referring to the height and stature of the audience.
I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Solar Life Portugal, Pete is asking how the cakes are yesterday. The snot cakes, the cakes that our daughter sprayed with a little bit of a sneeze. Well, Jimmy, are we allowed to call him that?
No, you're not allowed to call him that.
Okay. Jimmy Chu managed to get one. He enjoyed them. They were actually very nice. You could use them as a weapon, though. I mean, they could knock somebody out.
More importantly, it's for those of you who are kind enough to inquire soon after the show, and for those who saw on catch up, a bit like John, did you manage to get your son out of the laboratory?
We did, yes.
Yes, thank you for your concern, everybody. He was released from the laboratory soon after the incident you saw unfolding live on the show yesterday morning. So a fairly quiet morning this morning. Shouldn't say things like that, really, but it could be proved wrong. But yeah, it was a great day yesterday. Thank you to everybody who was involved in some way, and a lovely time at the meetup as well. Meetup's got a life of its own at San Martino de Porto. Every Wednesday between 1 and 3, we had a change of venue yesterday. We didn't set up the full OB studio. Did a quick video with Lynn. Morning to you, Lynn, who is of the these lovely. I'm still struggling to quite describe what they are. I mean, they're not quite a sculpture; they are an artwork. What does she call them? The new additions to the villa. Love being creative. My heart is in Portugal. My brain is in design. And they were indeed Alcobaça inspired. This is the insignia of Alcobaça, and she had them made up by a local artisan tradesperson and stuck onto the wall of her new villa, which is being built. And I had a very brief conversation with her, not the full OB yesterday, but a quick chat on the bench with Lynn yesterday. So thank you to her and everybody who came to the meetup yesterday. It's so good. And you think we've been doing it for over a year now?
Yeah, definitely. Only it started on Saturday mornings, didn't it?
Oh, that's right.
From summer last year, we would meet every Saturday morning, and whoever was wanting to meet and chat and say hello could do that. So we'd all go to the market, get our fruit and veg, and then go and
my goodness, how easily
go and sit down.
How easily forgotten. Yes, you know, the formation of these things and the evolution of these things. I didn't realize that. Yes, it was certainly winter, wasn't it, of last year when we started. And look at it now. It definitely has a life of its own, and it's part of PortugalMeetups.com. What's happening? Figuring out another comment that's come in there.
Yes, from Pete once again. You could possibly start an SMDP escape room in the bathroom, sell ecological green cakes and pancakes. We hope Digger's had a delightful day. He really did. You know, he's not the only one who's needed to escape from that bathroom. And I do wonder if the lovely people that were living here before ever had a problem with that door. But we have had a few guests that have, they've gone to the toilet and then we've heard soon after, hello.
Yeah. And also, we had somebody sending us a message last night saying, "I'm glad I didn't use that toilet when I was staying with you." So famous now is that particular lavatory this morning.
It's a good job we got 3. So.
Yes, children and lavatories. Yes. Okay, Marcus is in. Thank you yesterday for the Nosso Senora face. 3 down, 97 to go.
Are you doing a face a day?
Well, it looks like it. European.
Oh, that's good. That's good face.
I'm getting confused with you now.
I think you actually need to make them into memes. You need to make them into memes.
Alone, then they're not stacking up alone, are they? Because they started to look a bit similar. And differentiating between the 97 types of European facial Portuguese, I think you're right. It does need a little bit of context and description.
I'd like to see no say kind of face. You know, like
yes,
I don't know.
One of those was. We could also do a
because I always do that with a little shoulder shrug, whether I'm in France or Portugal, wherever, you know.
Yeah, I don't know, Gov. That could be that. Or have we got 4 now? We have Esta Complicado, we have Shuva face and a Nosso Senora sort of looking skyward. That was the one that isn't on the screen. So that could also be a quiz. You will be tested on these at the end of the year, everybody. I think that. No, I don't know. I am confused now, but we will come back to those, and we will make a cutout and keep series featuring Marcus, who's good enough to pose at home and send these in to us on 913-590-303. Here's the gentleman who was glad not to have been locked in our lavatory. Are you live streaming, John? As in getting up to go to the lav in the middle of the night and turning on. We're all live streamers here. Felicia, hey, John and Pam.
Good morning
to you. I need to play the cheeky video because we've got a couple of news items to share, Mrs. M. Is that okay with you? And I will stop
absolutely.
I'll try and stop it before it gets to the overt illustration and sharing of buttocks. Let's see how I get on here.
Oh.
Last, I didn't stop it in time. Sorry about that, everybody.
It's so cheeky the way it goes from side to side, and also how the music just slows down.
I don't know
that little hip sway.
Coincidence, I think. I think it's a coincidence this morning. But yes, from the Munson's news, not the news desk, the news desk.
We have actually done a we both posed nude, didn't we?
Were you naked for that one as well?
Yes.
I think you were, weren't you? Correct. Yes.
Yes,
But
we
our
did
guest wasn't. The whole point was to get naked because it was about naked workshops. And then the guy doing the naked workshops turned up fully
fully
clothed.
dressed, yeah.
Yes.
And
Morning.
you did do show naked.
Morning, Boaz. That Boaz, not that Boaz. And okay, first news item of the day then. Language assistance. This is very useful, I think, especially with everyone being called into CEF at the moment. Language assistance in dealing with official entities in Portugal. Not a Halloween story. Official entities does
Yeah,
sound
that
a little
sounds a
bit
bit
like, yeah, you need to bring the
demonic.
exorcist in, doesn't it? I don't know if
Yeah.
there's, I don't know if you can get assistance with expelling entities from your house, but you can certainly get language assistance in dealing with official entities in Portugal, updated with increased translators, interpreters, and numbers of languages. How about that? Sometimes, as a foreigner, say Safe Communities Portugal, people may encounter difficulties in dealing with official entities. Even having learned some Portuguese, it can be challenging, particularly where complicated technical terms and laws are concerned. The High Commissioner for Migration, the ACM in the house, has a telephone translation service, the STT, not to be confused with the STD service, which I think is also freely available in Portugal, that can assist you in contacting the services or entities with which you wish to communicate. So the STT offers a database of 107 translators, interpreters that fluently speak, besides Portuguese, one or more languages, and is aimed at Portuguese speakers and foreigners who need to communicate with foreigners and Portuguese citizens. Is this making sense so far? 69 languages and dialects are available in the telephone translation service. Hold on a minute, that's the
Well,
TTS,
so you
not the ST.
can you get so that you can get what, like a Porto one?
You can, in terms of dialects. I think there is a new Valley Girl version. So that hello, how are you today? Oh
With a
my,
really strong vocal
with a
fry.
real fry at the end. How can I
Mm.
assist you? Yes, are you calling from Porto? I love Porto. So there you go. Anyway, dialects and languages, 69 of them available, and I think it's available free of charge. Yes, it is. How cool is that? Free of charge. Customer only pays for the phone call every working day between 9 and 7 p.m. through the migrant
Wow.
support line. That's a great service. Thank you very much, Portugal.
Mm.
Excellent stuff. Deserve one of this. Welcome,
Yeah.
Portugal. Would you like to do the next news story, Mrs. M? Can you read that, Spol?
No.
Okay, I've got
Well,
another item.
I can, but I'd be like this.
All right, what about this one
And
then?
you'd all see my nose.
I must show everybody the 7 facts you didn't know about Portugal.
Go on.
Well,
Can
I
I
can't read them.
guess some of them? Can I
No,
guess some?
because I can't read them. They're so small.
Okay, I actually can read those, believe it or not.
Can you?
I think it
Give
might
us a
be
couple.
because of the contrast, the
Let's
colours.
not shoot our whole load with these. Let's keep a little bit back. I think because we could do one of these a day, can't we? Maybe two.
Okay, let's do fact 1. Portugal is the world's largest cork producer. There are about 2.2 million hectares of cork forests worldwide, and Portugal is 32% of it and produces 180,000 tons annually. And like as you're driving around, you can actually see where cork is being stripped from trees. I quite like it actually. Like as you're driving around, you notice that cork trees get marked and then later stripped. But you also see that there are pine forests.
Yes.
So you see people where they're collecting, or you see like strips of woodland full of pine, and they've got little they're stripped in a certain place and tapped, and you can see where they're collecting pine resin. It's fascinating.
Yeah,
it's lovely to see that people are doing these things, like working with nature. Although there probably are people that are like, they're taking the blood of the tree. But they're all managed, so it looks less like a factory and more like people working with what they've got. I'm a streamer now. Wow, John.
Yes, I think yellow warning. Yeah, you are, John. You started this trend and fashion. Okay, so the other news story then, and then we'll come back to your comments in the chat this morning. Yes, please like that smash button as well. So yes, you are, John. Mrs. M, then over to you with this second news story of the day from our friend over at Portugal Living magazine.
Okay, so caption this and you can win 25. Is it pounds? Euros. Each issue of the Portugal. Sorry.
Euros. You're in Portugal.
Yes. Okay. But they do look very similar, and I'm kind of squinting a little bit. Each issue of the Portugal Living magazine includes a curious photo that we ask readers to caption. Whoever submits the caption deemed best by the judges will win €25 from the magazine. Runners up will have their names and captions published as well. Simply post your caption in the comments below. So what are we looking at here exactly?
We're looking at the outside of a shop.
Bring it up?
Here we go.
Oh, that's now. I mean, the big question is, do you caption it in?
Bedroom at the moment.
No, it doesn't. It's not that bad at all.
It's wardrobes.
Okay, so we are still unpacking a little bit from our trip, but you know,
might as well just wait until the next trip, I would say.
How very dare you?
Okay, but let's not go into that dirty linen literally right now. What were you going to say? Sorry.
Well, you've kind of stopped me mid-flow, actually.
Unlike John.
What I was going to say is, like, are we expected to caption in English or in Portuguese, or kind of a little bit of both? You know, using a play on words.
Is it just for laundry? How about that? That's a €25 winner, I think, T-Duck. So if you go to the news desk, I'll put the link in there. You can't. You're not going to win €25 from us with this.
No.
I think we should have some GMP competition, shouldn't we? And we should do one of those. You know, win a £1 million chateau in the Minho by buying a lottery ticket. How about that? What could possibly go wrong with that? Well, you end up with a chateau in the Minho. But here, you have to go to... This isn't us. This is Portugal Living magazine. And the new issue is coming out for winter 2022, of course, and going into the new year 23. You'll need to go to our news desk. And if you click on Try Your Luck here, that will take you through to Portugal Living magazine. Facebook, I think you're going through to their Facebook page, and that's where Bruce is asking you to put the captions. But that could be a winner.
Yeah, and you've got to do it quite soon. So you've got 12 days to do it. So
great. Okay. Thank you very much then. So a couple of news items. I won't play the jingle again as much as I would like to. And this is news, however, from John. I did successfully add a couple of items up north to the Gumper map. Fantastic. So we are spreading out from the Bairrada and Barandi's efforts. Watch out, Andy. John is breathing down your neck on his way back from the toilet. Turns out you need to use a PC and not just an iPhone or iPad. There you go. Yes, so it is a bit of Google tech that probably prefers you to be on your PC. And yeah, I imagine it's a bit easier as well that way. Thank you, John, for doing that. I can't wait to have a deeper dive myself and add a few more things too. So everyone, please give that a go. The Gumper map is turning into an excellent resource on the Portugal loving community contributed show that is Good Morning Portugal. Let's go to some comments before we run. Look, 7 minutes to go before the Fab and the Ian get here this morning. So Mrs. M, we need to address and respect the contributions of people this morning with the Bom Dia Gumpers, Feliz Quinta. Should we do these one each, like we are Richard and Judy or Morecambe and Wise or some comedy duo like that? Bom Dia Gumpers from James N. Feliz Quinta Todas, como va? So please, could you go through these sequentially and not squeeze the toothpaste tube in the middle? So next for you.
Question this. Once we write our hearts, we write our world. Marianne Williamson, who I love Marianne Williamson, I have to say. Yes. Yes, I think that's really lovely. And I think that's really kind of prescient for these times. You know, I think where things aren't quite that clear to everybody, I think it's really interesting that we just get ourselves right in our hearts. And everything. I like that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, James.
It's the 12-inch trip, isn't it, from head to heart, depending on how big your head is. It's probably a bit further than that, isn't it?
It would be for you because you've got like the months and bonds.
Yes, thank you for that. Yogi Berra quote of the day: "If you can't imitate him, don't copy him." Very good, thank you, Jane. Yogi Berra. I'm finding more and more American icons of society and comedy. I was watching some old Saturday Night Lives because somebody was mentioning Gilda, I can't remember, one of the Saturday Night Live people. And then you see Chevy Chase and John Belushi started out there. I think we might go into that little avenue at some point as well. Yes, right back at the start of the show. When was this? 1 minute past 8. It was a Bon Dia Alegria Gumpers from T-Duck with a deep thought. Go on, Mrs. M.
To succeed in life, you need 3 things: a wishbone, a backbone, and a funny bone. That is so true. Thank you, Reba Nell McIntyre or McEntire, who, you know, however you want to do it.
MC Entire.
Yeah, like we spell that differently, don't we, in the UK?
McIntyre. Well, like Michael McIntyre. And yes. Portuguese saying then. And this I've put on the homepage of the website.
Now that's good. That is good. When the wine goes down, the words go up.
So true. Not only the words, I think, in some instances, certainly in the earlier part of the drinking. And this is me drinking with somebody at the weekend.
Who's
Remember
that?
this lady? I did a selfie with the lady at the party on Saturday who made this wine.
Ah, yes.
And
Love,
she was.
you look like you're in a suit jacket. You're not. I mean, you're actually dressed quite casually, but you look very formal.
Well, this is why most people weren't talking to me. It was quite, what should we say, a casual. Well, it was a party, so most people weren't dressed up in suit jackets, looking like Alan Partridge, I suppose. Gilda Radner, thank you for that. And I was there, and I think quite a lot of our more hippified colleagues were thinking, "Who's the straight guy in the jacket?
Yeah.
Daddy-o, avoid him." He's probably, he's probably from the government or something like that. Apart from this lovely lady who didn't judge me on my visual appearance. And I gave her a glass of wine, which soon into our conversation, she just threw onto the gravel floor and said, "Could you give me some of my own wine? Have you tried it?" And we started drinking her wine that she makes near Castelo Branco. And very good it is too. Made from grapes. As you would imagine, but without any sulfates and preservatives in, so you don't get a nasty hangover that comes from those chemicals. So a lovely time talking to her. Sat talking to her a long time, and you know, I don't even know her name. That's so kind of wild and bohemian, isn't it? I had a lovely chat, drank her wine, and didn't even get to know her name. That sounds like a story from the 60s, doesn't it?
I think it began with a T. It was a slightly unusual pronunciation, so I think you can be forgiven.
Tiffany.
No, nothing like that, but it was kind of about 5 letters.
Okay.
I just remember.
Could have been a Tish.
Not quite like that, but
she could have. Her full name could be Badumdum Tish. Anyway, so and while we're on wine, talking of when the wine goes down, the words go up. Don't forget on Monday, Penny Albertella leading the way, season 2, wine 5. It's the Atlantic Vinho Verde. Well, get any Vinho Verde you can. That would be my suggestion. Including the one that John's got here, the Adega Ponte de Lima. Oh, give it a rest, John. He's always going on about Ponte de Lima. Even his wine's got Ponte de Lima on it, hasn't it? Look at this. A Vinho Verde. What is that? Oh, a DOC of the Adamado. I think that says that. We should perhaps go to Specs.
We both need to get our eyes tested, don't we?
Yeah, maybe. Join us at 8 p.m. then on Monday the 7th. Back to the 8 p.m. time. No. We were doing this at 9 o'clock in the evening. We started at 8 at the last one. The rather mixed results that we had of doing it live in a bar. So we will be back online, but we will go to that new time which people liked, because it is a school night, Monday, of course, and Penny needs to go to work the day after. But I think she might. She loves a bit of Prosecco with her Italian background. And she also likes a bit of Vinho Verde, as do I. Fizz does the biz, bubbles cause the troubles, and you will see that for yourself if you join us on Monday evening. So, yeah, nice little shout out for the wine club. Back again on Monday. So let's just do a few more if we can.
Yeah, I think Deagle's sharing with us that there's a rhythm and rhyme in Belfast this Saturday in the main library for its children's aged 0 to 4, but it's Portuguese. Yeah. So that's all good, but the poster had a Brazilian flag.
Sadly. Can't do me like that, Deagle. Okay.
But he's bringing his 2 grandchildren. Isn't that nice? That
it is lovely.
You don't just have to be in Portugal to experience Portuguese. That it's happening all over.
In Belfast, of all places.
Yeah.
I wonder, is there a Little Portugal? When we talked to Fabrizio and Ian, they're big fans of Little Portugal in London. I wonder if there's a similar place in Belfast as well. Well, Deagle's going to find out. So let us know how that goes. I think he says sadly it has a Brazilian flag because he wants to be learning European Portuguese rather than Brazilian Portuguese. No swear.
Okay.
No swear on the Brazilian people. They got enough problems at the moment without Deagle starting on them, and use them to get a Portuguese language buddy in Belfast. So that's
a great idea.
Better than nothing, isn't it? For sure.
Definitely.
Okay, so when the wine goes down, the words go up. And who knew? A Portuguese related who knew this morning. Or we could call it who knew, couldn't we, as a feature? Who knew? Who knew? Portugal is home. I'll move on. Portugal is home to 17 UNESCO World Heritage Sites and has become one of the top 20 most visited countries in the world. I didn't know that. That could have been one of those further facts. That's great. Thank you, T-Duck, for that. And let's do the God Squad of the day then, because we should. I'm quite chuffed by this one because it was partly based on my suggestion yesterday about walking on uneven surfaces, including the beach, which you did yesterday. Ian says, yesterday I was talking about walking on uneven surfaces. Also, wine can bring that about, kind of can bring the illusion of that, to help improve your balance. And Carl suggested the beach. So I decided to test his theory with interesting results. Science! Here, right in front of you. Science and fitness. Indeed, walking in soft sand is great for developing ankle and foot strength. But yesterday, I went into the sea until Reggie Perrin sort of moment here, until the water was halfway up my calves and walked around 1 kilometre. What, out to the sea?
No, along the coastline.
All right. Sometimes it's a bit unclear when Coach Turner is giving his advice here. 3 things surprised me.
That would be awful advice, because like the riptide is so like strong on this coastline.
Please, nobody do
that.
That
would be that would be terrible.
Unless you're one of those crazy surfers, and I think a new record has just been set. Just watching them on those over 100-foot plus waves, I think a new record's been set up the road in Nazaré. But this is along the coast, not into the water. Thank you for clarifying that, Mrs. M. 3 things surprised me. 1, the sand underneath was hard but very uneven. Life is like that, isn't it? It's a metaphor, Coach Turner. 2, the wash from the waves pushed me around a lot. And 3, it was bloody hard work. Is that a fitness technical term? So, Carl, a big tick for improving your balance. There you go.
Yes. Well, I mean, I was taken off my feet, wasn't I? I went to talk to the sea. No, yeah, I was swept off my feet. But about 3 years ago, I just wanted to I'm a how do I say this without just I'm just going to say it, okay? I wanted to go and talk to the sea, so I like to sometimes talk to.
Oh, I see. You're a bit embarrassed about talking.
Yeah, I was a bit embarrassed about sort of like outing myself as a tree hugger, but
and a sea hugger.
Yeah, I was just wanting to talk to the sea and kind of appreciate like the energy of nature, and I got to enjoy it up close and personal because I was literally I was only about 3 or 4 inches in, and the riptide from just up the way from where we live, it just pulled me off my feet. And then there was some like
you need to get that.
No
egg timer.
No, that's one of the kids trying to play online with one of ours.
Okay, yeah,
but the fishermen obviously knew like what this stretch of beach were like, and they were just laughing at me. They thought it was hilarious that I was.
But it was one of those very dangerous Atlantic beaches. So yes, in all seriousness,
lots of people die on these beaches.
Be careful with the Atlantic beaches, and there is a way of approaching them. And I was talking to Uncle Krusty about this, who's a seasoned surfer. Don't turn your back on the sea when you grow up near the sea. I think James said that as well early on this week, didn't he? Don't turn your back on the sea. Show it great respect. Even when you're going out there to speak, or especially when you're going to speak to the ancestors, as Mrs. M was doing, wistfully looking.
Yeah, in fact, a Portuguese person said you must always ask if you can like go into the sea.
Really? So don't turn your back and seek permission from the sea. That's
yeah. Well, a bit like you don't just like hop on someone. You might invite them to a bit of foreplay. You don't just wade into the sea. Like the idea is
how did this suddenly happen? Fabrizio and Ian are looking at each other thinking, are we on the right show here?
it's about
asking
like,
permission.
Yeah, or at least
okay. In this instance, it is better to ask,
showing a bit of deference to the sea.
Yeah, rather than like seeking forgiveness. Yes, definitely.
Like that the sailors, the local sailors, that's what someone was sharing with me.
Great respect for the sea, and you must have that on this Atlantic coast. Okay,
definitely. All
right, this is becoming rude. It's verging on rude to keep these gentlemen waiting 4 minutes past
Absolutely.
the hour. So let's bring them on. Hey!
Hey! Morning. Good morning. How are you?
Morning. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Beautiful apartment behind you. I love
gorgeous.
It when we see you on the screen.
There you go. We'll show you a little bit more.
It's very beautiful.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
We're planning on doing a guided tour one day, so we'll take you
around. That sounds great. So meet Mrs. M here, Fabrizio and Ian of Project.
Hi there.
Hello. So you're both British?
No.
Well, I was just
I was
trying to work out. No. It's a terrible start. But I was trying to work out your accents. Your accents sound quite British.
Well, I lived
I lived in London for quite a long time.
Ah, okay. Oh no, not trying to offend you at all. I promise.
No, absolutely not. But I'm from Rome.
Actually, you've complimented him by saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
but I'm from Rome. Originally from Rome. Yeah. And then London by adoption, I would say.
Yes.
And now here.
And now Lisbon,
here.
of course.
Yeah.
Yes. So welcome and thank you. This is your debut. Talking of pronouncing words in different ways. Your debut. I don't know what that would be in Italian, but welcome and thank you for being here with us to start your residency on Good Morning Portugal. You'll be here every month talking about life in Lisbon. You work in the real estate area. And I think you'll have lots of interesting things to tell us. But we'd love to hear your backstory about how you got to be together, how you got to be in London, and a little bit about Little Portugal, which is always fascinating to hear about. Yeah. And ultimately how you got to be here in Portugal, why you chose Portugal and Lisbon. So, Mrs. M, I think you can stay with us for a little bit and ask a few questions as well.
Sure. And then I'll have to
it's a mixed blessing for me.
Dash off for your egg.
For your egg timer.
The sooner she goes, the sooner I might get a cup of coffee. But then again, I don't want to be rude or pushy in any way like that. So mixed blessings. Lovely to have you on the screen as well. So Fabrizio and Ian, yes, the backstory. There is a little bit about it in the sleeve notes of the show this morning, and it is a fascinating story. Perhaps you could take us back to, I think, was it you were thinking about 2017, just before that, thinking retirement is not exactly upon us, but it's something we should start thinking about.
Yeah. Well, that's when we started to think, to 2016, 2017, to have a side plan somehow, or a plan B, or C, or D, or something like that. And we thought that a good idea would be to invest in a property abroad where we could then at one point of our life live. And we were in London, we were happy, we were saying, oh no, we're never going to be able to live anywhere else. This is all about what we like to do, and London is what we know and everything we love and the places we would like to go. So no, we're not going to live anywhere else, but it could be a good idea.
And also, I suppose there's also the thing where sometimes when you're in a big city, especially like London, you look around, you think, what do I do when I get older? Because
of course,
it is very expensive, and it is all those sort of things. So you have to start, we did start to think, what do we do? We haven't really got very big pensions. We haven't really got all of these sort of things. How do you fix that problem as well? Great to have a great big house here or something, but, is that a physical thing to do? And do you want to live in it? Because London as well can be quite a lonely city as you get older,
And it can get expensive to manage as well. I mean, Carl's got his mum is in West London, and she's getting these really big bills, isn't she, for maintaining the outside of the apartment buildings and stuff.
Exactly.
Well, especially now, can you imagine? You were way ahead of this curve, weren't you, of moving abroad? But maybe a little bit of prophecy or psychic ability in there ahead of these massive bills that people would be paying.
Oh God, yeah.
Well, I mean, even before that happened, I mean, we kind of seen London slowly going up in price. And the fact that everything we were doing was just that bit more expensive. And you think, well, good that my salary now is keeping up with it, but what happens one day when that salary is not there? How do you then cope with all that? And so that kind of set the seeds and set the wheels in motion, really, to say we should start looking to do something. But I think what actually changed was that we came over here and we saw a few properties, and then probably because I overthink every single thing I ever do, so that's just me. Well, Fabrizio has to put up with it. But then,
that sounds like us.
No. Sometimes when you go down the checklist and you think, but then it's there. What happens if somebody doesn't pay the rent? What happens if there's a problem on the place? And yes, for us, it's 3 hours away on a flight, or 5 hours by the time you get to the airport, you get away. If you need to come here for something, how do you then manage all that kind of thing? Until there was a very strange moment one morning when, for some reason, I woke up and I said, hang on, but sorry, now looking at it, why are we really staying in London? Why are we actually staying in London now? And why are we not thinking about doing this sort of thing? And why are we not thinking about going somewhere else completely? why not just say, forget all this rental, forget all this doing all this other stuff. We're still young and we can still do something with it. But the word retirement and young in the same sentence, that's quite good, isn't it? So what yes, we could also say we move somewhere else, and if we got to learn the language, if we got to do all these other things, we've got the time to do it and fit in and integrate with the society, rather than thinking, suddenly at 70, 75 years old, I think, oh yeah, I'm going to move to a foreign place, and then how do I cope? Do I worry then about coping with all those things at an older age? I could work remotely. Fabrizio had taken on, his main job was interior design, but he was also doing some store fittings and things. So that allowed him to be doing that remotely, because a lot of it was, just how the store's going to be laid out on CAD drawings and stuff. So he could also do some of that abroad. And that was really the catalyst of saying, okay, what do we do now? We look for where we want to go.
Yeah.
That was the next.
We sort of remember then Portugal from years before, because we've been here in 2003.
The first time we ever came,
and it was a completely different place. So
tell us about that. So it's changed a lot, right?
Exactly. And that was, and the funniest part of that story is the fact that when we came in 2003, we really did not like Portugal at all.
Oh wow!
Why not?
So there was a bit of a thing. We went on a trip around Europe, and I think out of all the around Europe, actually went France.
Well, we were both between jobs. So June 2003
to September 2003.
I was between a job and another one. Actually, I didn't know where the other one was, so it came later on. And Ian had a break between a project and another one, so we had a lodger. We left everything with our lodger, and we packed the car and we went through Europe we bought a car because the old one was a Panda, which deceased and no long after the poor thing. Anyway, and then we went around Europe, and we went obviously through France and Spain, Portugal, Italy, and then we drove back to London. And between all those experiences of different places, somehow Portugal was the least impressive. Really? I don't know why. Don't tell me why. Yeah. Don't ask me why. It was.
You didn't put your finger on it. There weren't particular things. It just didn't stand out like some of the other.
We remember, for example, Lisbon, which is the place that we now live in.
And love, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And love, and we're fully committed. From talking to friends of us, they told us that the big change of the city to becoming from a quite empty space and unloved by its locals and inhabitants, and its evolution towards a more modern, let's say between parentheses, cities, started to happen after the Expo.
Yes,
but when it wasn't very far from there. So we were here in 2003, and we remember the city being empty.
Yeah, wow. City centre. That is. I mean, if you would go down kind of
the Baixa, the Barrio Alto, the areas like, I don't know, the so-called downtown. It was no street lights, there was very little restaurants, there was a lot of shops that were closed, there was no one on the street after a certain time in the evening.
Wow. And that must have been a huge contrast to, like Rome and London and
London, Seville, part of south of France, part of northern or south of Spain. It was completely, I think we were here after driving from the Basque country. So can you imagine from Bilbao, for example, to Lisbon, it was like day and night.
Of course.
It it was strange to think of Portugal as a destination because our memory wasn't the most exciting.
Yeah.
But then we said, but also is a long time that we don't visit the place. And I believe there's been a lot of change. Everything changed. So we came as part of a holiday, let's say.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
Well, part of the instigation of that actually was the fact that in 2010 we moved in London. So we actually moved to Stockwell.
Okay.
And Stockwell is commonly known as Little Portugal. So
right,
when we moved there, we moved actually just opposite Lambeth Road, which is very famous for that, where at the bottom part between Stockwell and Vauxhall. South London.
South London.
Yes.
I grew up in Kent, so I know a little bit of South London.
Yeah, exactly.
Far away from me.
It's not Little Portugal, though. I mean, a lot of coming over from Portugal, and that's where they ended up and built a community in Stockwell. But what's it like to walk down the street? Are you seeing the cockerel that's next to me?
Yeah. Everywhere.
Really?
I mean, the majority of restaurants there and bars are all Portuguese, and they are very Portuguese. I mean, even to most of them will have a little shop at the back, and they will sell Portuguese milk.
Yeah,
I know why milk.
Really?
They would sell Portuguese cheese, obviously.
Tuna, bom petisco.
Yeah.
And it's all the brands. It's the brands that you would find here. It's not it's not.
Well, like Heinz baked beans as an equivalent.
You won't find Heinz baked beans exactly. Like buying Heinz baked beans here. There it was just that was it, and it was shop after shop.
And they were all Delta coffees.
Yeah.
So all the coffee shop was Delta. So where we were surrounded by the new multi-million pounds development of Vauxhall with all the high spec and all the new Starbucks and all the other stuff. We used to go to the South Lambeth Road with an F, and get a coffee from a Delta coffee shop for a pound. So that was the first approach to Portugal.
And so Portugal was reeling you in slowly here. You had Nuno, who you might know, is here this morning. Hey, Nuno, good morning to you, bon dia. In 2003, the city centre was empty. But in 2008, everything started changing dramatically. And I don't know who it was who managed to get the expo to Lisbon. But that was a masterstroke, wasn't it, in putting Lisbon on the map in a bigger way and in the way that we know and love now. So you had your rather unimpressive visit, but you were still developing a love for Portugal and Portuguese culture by being in Little Portugal in Stockholm.
And that's right. And at the same time, obviously, I think with that, probably around that time, there was the big buzz about Portugal, where everybody said, Lisbon's the place to go. And we were saying, what?
We were there. It was terrible. Yeah.
We must have gone to the wrong Lisbon. We must have gone to the other one. And of course that then said, well, for our next holidays, why don't we go to Portugal? And obviously we ended up, I think first of all we went to the Algarve again, probably Faro and then around there. And then the next trip we said, weekend trip, city break or something, let's go to Lisbon. And it was, as I say, it was night and day. It was just, the city centre was completely different. You would not have imagined it to be in the same place. It was literally like I went to another place somewhere in 2003.
Isn't it incredible how that can happen?
It is. I mean, the elevator was there. I remember that from the time. But I remember even that road behind where the elevator is, where Rua de Carmo, which has got a lot of shops around. We walked up there one evening and it was pitch black. Even the elevator wasn't lit up. There was nobody around, and it was like 10 o'clock on an evening. It was like, this is the.
And now it's dramatically different.
Yeah.
You're almost wishing it was a bit quieter, like 2003.
That was the magic of the confinamento, of the lockdown.
Yeah.
We had walks around where there was literally no one. And between all the big drama of COVID, we've been to Sintra, to Palácio da Penha, and there was 4 people visiting. So they had this positive side. But nevertheless, we couldn't settle for anything quieter than this because the change already the change from London to Lisbon took some adjustment. From our internal rhythms, from our approach to the task of living, if that makes sense. We had to sort of sit back and slow down and say, chill pill. You know, they're just. But we now feel that it has a rhythm that we became accustomed with, and is a good compromise between the big buzz and a more livable human reality. So here we are in
that's a great balance, which brings us right up to date pretty much. We do have some questions coming in for you and a few hellos this morning.
I've got one. I think I missed this right at the beginning because one of our kids' friends was calling and I was a bit distracted by it. But how long have you been actually in Lisbon now?
4.5 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And there's like absolutely no way you'd choose to go back. This is your home now.
Go back? We try to don't.
What?
Exactly.
When we move here, we always say, we will miss London. I mean, we will
be. It's easy to visit, isn't it? London's very easy.
But we've never been.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
They say, oh, we will miss it, but we come on holiday. And then we went Madrid, Bilbao, Paris.
Yeah.
We haven't been to London once.
Wow.
Also, I mean, we've had the advantage to travel the length and breadth of Portugal as well.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a
We've
whole
been all the
world.
way up to right the way up to Braga, to Guimarães, to all the way down to Porto several times. So even just traveling internally in the country, there's some great opportunities there.
Yeah. Well, actually, next month I won't have left this country for 5 years. That was the last time I was anywhere else other than Portugal.
You've become so parochial, honestly. Ian and Fab. Is it all right if we call you Fab?
Well, I get it all the time.
I bet you did you leave on the Brexit agreement? Pete is asking. Lucky to escape, as the housing market is dead as a dodo at the moment. I think he's talking about back in the UK there. But it's kind of coincidental. You didn't do it specifically for that reason, by the sound.
No, but it surely didn't kept us there.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. As every Londoner could speak or could say, we felt the following morning. I remember getting the bus and going to work. The silence.
It was a shock, wasn't it?
We felt so misrepresented, so let down because mostly more than the economical dynamic and political dynamic of Brexit that we didn't agree with, it was the agenda that Brexit was promoted on, and the agenda was the fear of immigration.
Yeah, exactly.
And as an immigrant for almost all my life, but also as Londoners, as a place and a society made of immigrants and made wonderful by the influx of external cultures and identities, we felt really that this had nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it surely didn't help. We didn't know the scale, the extent of this. We didn't see anything good coming from the horizon. But no, we left because it was just the time.
Right.
The chapter of our life that it was just about to close or to be somewhere else apart from the present day. We yet didn't know, but we felt it somehow. It's good also to be a couple because you have this ping pong of ideas and I want
to ask you about that. I want to ask you about that big face you pulled when he said, "I overthink everything." You had a very visceral reaction to that, Fabrizio. But we've got some other questions and comments before we go there, because I think that could be useful for other couples. With the planning processes. Me and Mrs. M have our dynamics with that. We wouldn't have what he doesn't tell you without that kind of dynamic going on with us as well. So I think that'd be very helpful to people this morning.
I mean, I'm the overthinker in our household, and you're the come on, let's do it.
No. I will correct before because I'm somehow the overthinker of the house. Ian will do a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm
we
a
overthink
bit
in
more.
different
I'm a
ways, I
bit
think.
more on the.
Yeah.
I'm a bit more on the spreadsheet side of things.
Yeah.
Although
Exactly, because
I
I'm
think
always looking practical, and I think he's probably looking a little bit more emotional about some things as well. So there's probably a bit of a balance there, you know what I mean? Because that's a different thing to do.
There's almost a bit of racial stereotyping going on here as well with that.
Indeed.
Yes.
I've been, yeah.
Yeah, and you might have gone to Lisbon in Northern Ireland, not Lisbon. That could have been
Maybe that was
That was it.
That's what Deagle's suggesting to us. And Deagle also, in 1994, after our peace process, the EU offered groups of citizens 20,000 to resettle in Northern Ireland to make it more multicultural. A group of 30 families from Porto. I didn't know this. They went from Porto to Portadown. And the program became, there you go, Porto to Portadown. They are still based in mid Northern Ireland. I tried touching base twice, but sadly nothing. I'm hoping third time lucky. That is an amazing story, something I didn't know about. And 20K for an EU citizen was decent money in 94.
Definitely.
So what an incredible little thing that is that you've shared with us, Deagle. Thank you for that. Jeff also in this morning. Morning, Jeff. Thank you for being here this morning. Appreciate you, Jeff, making the effort at your time of day. I think people were thinking I was going to say at your time of life. No,
that's what I thought you were going to say, and I was going to say how rude. That's why there was a micro frown coming over my face.
Let me make that very clear. At your time of day in the United States. Scott, how lovely to meet you and Chris yesterday at the meetup too. Excellent to meet you and to talk about American politics. I hope that wasn't too difficult. I found it fascinating. If my computer is on, another overthinker here. If my computer is on, Excel is open. People think, yeah, I'm with you, Fabrizio, on that.
I'm always on like Google Docs doing stuff.
I like 20,000 small pieces of paper spread across the house, posted notes and stuff like that.
But you don't like it when I do it. When I've got lots of bits of paper everywhere.
There's one of them. There's some creative notes there.
When I put my bits of like paper all over the place, you come in, sweep them up, and kind of put them in a corner, and then they don't make sense anymore. That's why I now use Open Docs.
Enough of
because I know where everything is.
Look, it's looking like that. That's the equivalent of
your desktop.
There you go. That's what a desktop looks like if it were a shop. Okay.
It's a creative process.
It is a creative process. What Fabrizio just held up there on a piece of paper could be the next €1 million idea. So let's show some respect for the little bits of paper left around the place. Oh, Nunu says, I confess that it was too much for me. This is the change. I think he liked it back in the day when it was a bit quieter and there were no lights on Maple. I need to leave Marcus de Pombal where I have lived forever. Very interesting. These tides, these social tides in the city. Fiona's here. Morning, everyone. Is it just me that struggles to see the guests' faces due to the live icon and the number of people watching? Of course, I'm on Facebook, not YouTube, so it could be the issue in itself. Lovely guests. There you are.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm sorry if you're being obscure. Let me obscure myself.
She's not really missing much, to be honest. But we don't look our best, but
give over. You look fabulous this morning. I will hide myself underneath the various icons and let's give you some full screen action. I hope that's better for you, Fiona. Yeah. So this thing about couples and dynamics and the overthinker. This thing, I get sent pictures of this. Someone saying, "Well, I'm just trying to drop the hint." For my wife, she's not too keen about coming to Portugal, and it's a chair covered in Portuguese travel guides. Like no shit, as it were. You want to go to Portugal? I get it, but I'm not ready yet. What you're dealing with people, aren't you, who are coming to and setting up lives in Portugal? And we'll talk more about your project to do that and help them find places to live and connect with the culture. Is that an issue? Do you find that one, I guess it's bound to be, isn't it, that one of the couple likes the place and the idea more than the other? How do you manage that?
I think it probably fits in though. It's actually quite a broader spectrum that as well, because I think you do get the fact that in a couple you do both have different opinions.
Yeah.
But it fits in this bigger one of all the different things you have to think about as why you would, why you're leaving somewhere as well. So, I think it probably just the fact we just kept bouncing ideas off, like what do we miss, what do we not miss, and you have to start to analyze back yourself, I think, and say, why do I like being here and what would I not like being here? What is it about this that's good and what is it that's, and then take that for each of you and say,
good.
What do you want and what you don't want? Because it's quite yes, it's life-changing. So it's a big move anyway to think you're going to change countries. So the fact that if one of you is really keen and the other one is always going to hate the idea, we're going to get across that. And you kind of have to push people down and saying, are you 100% sure you're ready to talk to us yet?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Because we don't have any problems in saying to somebody, I'm not sure whether you're at the stage to be talking to us now. We'd love to talk to you later on. And I don't mean that in a nasty way. I mean it in a way of saying, you need to be positive and thinking about your move, and we'll help you do that move, and we'll make that as simple as we possibly can for you.
Yeah.
But if you're not sure about that first step, don't start progressing on to the next step. Make sure you're 100% sure, because you do get, could we be here? Oh, maybe it should be in. It's a bit like the location. Maybe it should be in Porto. No, what about the coast? What about internal? What about here?
And then,
what do you want out of all of this?
And he highlights the fact that a proper conversation between the two, is still had to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's great consultancy. I mean, to be able to say, to have the presence of mind and not to be so desperately seeking the business that you say to people, look, come back when you've done X, Y, and Z, I think is great. And well, for the relationship.
And that's part of the whole progress that we try and do, because we start at that stage and then even getting to the point of saying, once you get all those ideas coming from people, okay, now go away, now take this thing, now give us a much more defined bullet point Excel-based spreadsheet.
Obviously.
No, but what you really want and what you're really trying to achieve as well, especially with people in the visa process, because you do get people in this visa process and they want this fantastic palace somewhere that does all these sort of things. But on the other side of it, you need to have somewhere by a certain date that's acceptable to get you in. And well, there's probably a big time scale involved. And, so you have to sort of swap that two things of saying, are you going to go now for where you think you're going to live for 10 years? Or are you going to move yourself back and say, you want to look for now to get you over the next stage? So we get each bit of that route.
Yes.
And this is Project Lisbon, then this is what we're talking about now, is the process that you help people with, finding somewhere to live and the steps to get into that fine accommodation. If not the forever home, maybe just the pragmatic first base camp. But you're helping people do this. Just to answer these couple of questions, you do not have to have a beard to be on the show. I want to make that clear. Everybody. Great beards, says Terence. Yes, that's a good effort. Thank you.
Yes, I do sometimes get a little bit of a whisker that I have to pull out, but
that's lovely to share.
I got this very expensive process of dyeing mine white.
It's not just beards, is it? It's like badger beards, with that little with the distinguished.
Going there. Right, okay. It's not just
but it's not just for Fabrizio and Ian. The whole show this week has been very bearded.
Yeah,
it has, hasn't it?
Yeah, there's been a definite bearded theme.
It's a Portugal thing, actually.
I don't know what
you you know
about.
They used to be our neighbours.
Oh, did they? So you know,
just around the corner.
Just around the corner.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, super.
I actually have to go now. And get my beard on.
Was it the beards? Was it the beard talk?
Was it the beard talk?
Did it upset you?
No, not at all. I've got things. I've got to prepare for my client work today, and I've got to also work with the kids. So.
All right. Okay. Well, what
I'm getting my mum call. So.
Yeah, fair enough. Well,
and I'll bring you up a coffee.
Oh, you're the best. She's the best. Everybody, look at that.
It's very nice to meet you, Ian.
Yeah,
it's lovely to meet you. Ian, I didn't find out, where are you from, because that is definitely a British accent,
originally
right?
I was born just outside Birmingham by West Bromwich, and then I moved down to London.
He's a peaky blinder. He's a peaky blinder. All right.
It's really, really nice to meet you both.
Wonderful to meet you.
All right.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye, everyone.
All right, so we have a couple of videos to share this morning. We've got a 2-minute taste from Doug, which we'll finish with, as well as a few dad jokes. I don't know if the dad joke thing is a thing in Italian culture. We will find out a little bit later on the show and see whether there's a stony-faced poker face from Fabrizio or if he guffaws like a happy Roman emperor. We will find out a little bit later on. But a little bit of a break now as we look, and this is very appropriate because this is Andy Klein's latest video, our expat journey. You might like this. It is 4.5 minutes. So let's sit back and enjoy this because I think there will be things that you can bounce off, Fabrizio and Ian, in the process. They're doing their D7 from America. So the first of 2 videos this morning, Doug's taster towards the end and a few dad jokes before we go. And to find out a lot more about Project Lisbon as well. But the latest, hot off the press, our expat journey from Andy Klein. This just was sent to me last night. So delighted to be debuting this on the show right now.
I just gave the packs to the FedEx guy, and it was a little bizarre because we had gotten everything together but forgotten to print out the labels. So he took off, did another pickup, and came back. Thank you, FedEx, for good service. But anyway, there you have it. Now back inside. After all that, anyway, those things are on their way to VFS now, so hopefully it'll be pretty quick. So I'm back in the apartment, and there's a nice big bare wall, and there's a bare bulletin board, and another more bare wall. And actually, I'll show you around here a little bit. Things are in a little bit of a disarray, partly because we're packing it up. I think today represents the top of the roller coaster. And to mix the metaphors really badly, also that roller coaster is heading down into the rabbit hole. Oh, I think it's time for a scotch. So that's my office with all the posters, movie posters from documentary work with students. Let's enter the office to see. Oh yes, my office is nothing if not a Fallout cosplay. Yes, I'm a messy office person. That's just kind of the way it is. There's Scoop. He roots out the news. Yeah, kind of frightening. As you can see, shelves in disarray, and that's largely because I've been giving away books like crazy, other stuff, junk that has to be gotten rid of. And I'm fixing to sit down at my computer there and actually start working towards some things that have to be done now that the visas are in.
Well, I'll put a link to that from our news desk. Andy Klein, our expat journey. That really gives you a sense, doesn't it, of what people are going through. I thought that was great.
I think it was great too. And I love the psychedelia.
Yes.
And also it's a bit of a Steven Spielberg look like.
He yes, that's right. But he's an indie documentary maker and teaches documentary filmmaking to students. So we're very honoured to be able to share Andy's videos. I think Andy Klein, Cline. I'll put a link to it from our news page and embed the video on our news page as well. But I think that's great. What did he say? He's mixing his metaphors. It's the roller coaster ride going down into the rabbit hole. Now, you help people with this experience, don't you, of the roller coaster ride into the rabbit hole? Tell us more about Project Lisbon, if you will.
No, me. Who starts here? So we set it up, I guess, in a similar thing based on our experiences, because, I mean, I think exactly what he said is very true. And fun enough, watching that video, I can remember what we went through in that kind of thing. Because our own one was, I mean, we were fortunate enough that we didn't have to go through the visa process. So we just moved here. But we moved away literally having sold everything, packed everything, and just, gone. And there was that empty shell moment, wasn't there, of this sort of thing. And it is a bit of a daunting thing. But then we came to nothing as well, because we didn't have anything planned. We had an Airbnb and that was it. Wow. So kind of, where do you go from this for 6 weeks? For 6 weeks, because we didn't know. And I fully appreciate, that was one thing, that everything is completely different. How does all this work? Forget all that you ever learned about buying or renting in the UK. It just doesn't apply in the same way. Things just don't work the same. Forget how you do things. Every single thing you've got to learn again. And it can be even down to kind of just simpler things. Where do I buy a travel card? What I mean? It's all those stupid things that actually we've known and we've gone through. And if people start to ask us, it's like, oh, when you're coming over, think about all these things, think about this, think about that, do this sort of thing, do that sort of thing. So that's really part of saying, at least if we can get people thinking of that before they start, that starts to make your process easier. And if at least when you come here and you find somewhere, you've got somebody to say, this is what you need to know about a rental. Because of this, that's not quite what it should be for what, if you were doing the visa process or not, just to make sure that everything is okay for you, and just to smooth out that bit, because that transition period is the worst, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the most lonely.
But the key was, I guess, to project our experience, and use the fact that we'd done it fairly recently and say, this is all what we went through. And what would we have loved to have known at that stage now that we've helped people through? And once you start getting people asking the questions, you think, that was a question I was asking. And yes, I went to the internet and I got 14 different answers that told me completely different things.
Yes.
But, when we got here, now we finally know, there is an answer, actually. I know what the answer is. But I also know the 14 things that I probably did that didn't work as well. So, I appreciate the fact that everybody has a different way of looking at stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, and you've called it the transition, as in, I mean, I'm going to mix up Andy's metaphor even further here. I mean, what occurs to me is like it's the wilderness, isn't it? It's the 40 days and nights. Is that the bit you mean? The transition of like, okay, we've got a lovely idea to move. Yep. You move, and then there's the bit between the adjustment part between making the romance real and it becoming your daily life. Is that the transition part you're talking about? The piece in the middle.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Also, the thing is all about the things that you assume.
Yes.
And then you don't. And it's the nice and nitty gritty, small little things the final goal that we try to achieve with our business, or we propose to our clients is to find them a rental or a buying property. So we assist people with that. But then there's all the surrounding with it, and then all the surrounding bits will be a small clause in a contract, the timing that takes from a stage to another one, the legal implication of this rather than that. So it's all the stuff that you think you assume, you think you know, or that you're accustomed to, that then in a new place with the process of buying a new property or in the process of moving from a place to another one with all the paperwork and all the adjustment to life and all the other stuff, you come to the hard reality of knowing there and then. So that's when we thought about Project Lisboeta. Also, Project Lisboeta was it became active in the time of lockdown. Mm-hmm. When moving physically from a place to another one was impossible. Yeah. So the idea of this business also came from the fact that it could be a process that is done remotely. We could be the eyes on a place where someone could not travel to easily at that time, but in the present stage, it probably is almost the same thing, or not being physically in place. When someone cannot be physically in place as often, it's required to see a property more than once or twice. So it came with that sort of moment in time where that none of us ever experienced, I think, in our living.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so it's been a bit extraordinary, hasn't it? These last few years.
So that's part with the fact of being on our own, also for the luxury of time, and for the fact that in Netflix we had nothing else to watch. We ran that stuff dry. So yes. Our business came to exist out of that. Also, to be someone in place that knew the process, because not primarily because of our professional background, even if we work somehow in a state for a bit, but because of our connection with people that we know and we work with, but also as individual, we can tell a story of someone that has been in someone's shoes before them, and I think we could apply that sort of gained experience into be a service and a business at the end of the day.
Absolutely, no, totally get it. And the scope then, because I do want to, I do like how you're approaching this, because it's not just the nuts and bolts, it's the emotional, psychological aspects of adjustment as well, which I think is becoming increasingly important, isn't it? We're seeing people going home again. And I think part of that is because they've maybe underestimated or not had the right help with adjusting. But in terms of staying with the nuts and bolts for a moment, Project Lisboeta suggests that you help people move to Lisbon. Is that true, or will you help people move to any part of Portugal?
No. We with the process of visa, for example, we work with lawyers that we know and we cooperate. We don't personally follow the process. We might advise to what we know, but we pass everything to people that associates that we work with, and they will do that, and they will apply for all over the country, I suppose.
Okay.
For the home scouting and the buying agent part, we work in the area of Lisbon, because we work based on what we know to the core. We are not estate agents. We wish not to be ever. We work with a lot of them, but the sort of advice or tailoring of a property according to the area, according to what the family is like or requires, or how old the children's are. We can advise about Lisbon, because Lisbon is a city that we know, that we live in. We know the dynamics, we know the different areas. So this is our hood, and that's where we were.
and yeah, the word itself, Lisboetas, is a lovely word, isn't it? I mean, you know, you might be called Lisbonites, you might be called the Alfasas. I think they're the lettuce people, right? But this, the word Lisboeta, it means somebody from Lisbon, right? It's like Londoner or Lisbonite, but Lisboeta. So your project has a lovely name, the Project Lisboeta.
Well, also because project is it also encapsulate what is our journey, because project is an English word.
Yes.
And it's something as a starting point. Lisboeta is a Portuguese word, which say it means, you know, the inhabitants of Lisbon, and is also in just convey this idea of journey from one reality to the other one, from a language to another one, from who we were and in a way who we are. And
I love it. I love it. And you know what? I can imagine Project Lisboeta was written down on a piece of paper once upon a time and left lying around, and here it is now brought to life.
Indeed.
Alfasas. I think I might have.
Alfacinhas.
God only knows what Alfasas are, but let's stay away from that and stick to Alfacinhas, which Antonio. Thank you, Nuno, for that. And Antonio, Alfacinha relates to the Lisbon-born residents.
Yep.
So Lisboetas might be people who live there, but
Alfacinhas
are the original born and bred Lisbon people. Is Lisbon the best place in Portugal? Don't answer that just yet, because Andy is jumping the queue. He's a neighbour of yours, Lord Gilchrist, the English Lord Gilchrist, not far from you in Lisbon. We have other questions for you, Project Lisboeta, Fabrizio and Ian, this morning. The first of which, the Global Nobles were with us. We asked Pete's question earlier on, didn't we? Are there companies that rent furniture? We're renting an unfurnished apartment. How to go about that apart from a trip to IKEA?
Well, that's one thing that part of our journey. I was a home stager, a part of my thing in London for vacant properties. I used to stage property for the purpose of selling.
Cool.
And I was thinking to set up the same kind of business in Lisbon. And I was also asking to the universe if there's a place where you could rent furniture, because that's what I used to do in London. I used to go to these big warehouses and charge my client to rent this sofa and a coffee table and all the other thing. And I don't remember the name of the gentleman or the lady that asked for this. And I will say, I really do not know, but I think the answer is no.
Okay, but there might be one soon. If you can get your head around that to how to do that.
But I can see that there's stagers that now rent furniture for the purpose of staging the apartment for the process of sale. And but it's part of that package. Then usually is furniture that should not be used.
Right.
The just purpose of the purpose.
You don't want people Netflix and chilling on this furniture that's been hired. This is
no, and popcorns no.
Okay, here's how to get in touch. Okay, projectlisboeta.com. I think the Global Nobles might be in touch. You might be able to help them out, right? At the very least, possibly organise some furniture for them.
Exactly. Drop the line because
on a plus point, I have to say, even if you end up buying furniture for a while, I can see all the Oleshish, which is the local eBay in Portugal, and reselling furniture. There's not a huge drop in value.
Yeah, it's true, actually.
That's true, isn't it? Most things in Portugal hold their value, don't they?
They do,
definitely.
Yes. So probably the process of reselling whatever you bought for like 6 or 7 months would not be so traumatic.
Yeah,
I think we probably can all help each other in this regard. We could have a sort of shared furniture repository somewhere, couldn't we? Okay. Why did you sell everything? Asked Mr. S. Is this you, Mr. S from Ohio? I'm planning to move to Portugal, but we're keeping our home in the US. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are advising against now, aren't they, moving all their worldly goods, especially furniture that you could buy anywhere in the world now. It's not as if you have to bring things and that you're going to miss. Well, that said, some Americans might let their big fridges, which you can't necessarily get here. But yeah, why did you sell everything? And what would be your suggestion to Mr. S on this?
Well, everything meant a home.
Right.
and our car.
Yeah.
Our furniture is I edited, but I didn't sell.
Because you've got some beautiful pieces, I think, as well, right?
And also, it's part of my job, so I collect the stuff, and I got the ceramic from Mexico and all the other things. So no. I didn't sell any of that. Yeah. It's been in a container for like almost a year.
Right.
Down to almost to Marvilla here, wherever the shipment container arrived to, up until we find a place, and then the place was painted by myself badly. A bit of botchy DIY here and there. It's never hurt.
It looks okay from here.
Well, yeah. Well, there's a little filter, and then was shipped in. Yeah. We sold everything because we also thought about keeping the London property for rent and moving here.
Yeah.
It felt somehow that we were not digging in doing that.
I think there was a tipping point. It's kind of, I guess by keeping it there, we always thought we kind of don't believe this is going to work. Yeah. We're not really believing in this. And are we just creating ourselves a whole load of issues and problems and everything else? And you know, there was also a financial issue to that as well, because obviously, you know, we could have rented here and rented the place out there and got one to pay for the other.
Yes.
In a certain respect. But then, of course, you've got the problems if he doesn't rent. Maybe for us, he just didn't solve all those problems.
Okay.
You know? And so we were moving our lives, and we thought we can always move away and we can always go somewhere else. And that's it. You know what I mean? If we're there and it doesn't work, maybe it felt no different to if we were in London. We liked our previous flats, and then we moved into another flat that we then liked, and then we moved away again. You know, it's kind of sometimes even moving apartments in your own city has those heartstrings attached to it. You know, think, oh, I really like this apartment. I remember when that happened. And you know what I mean? And you always have this emotional kind of thing to it. And then I guess taking that next step is like, but are we just thinking we're always going to go back? And people did kind of say to us, yeah, but once you made that move, you know, you'll never come back again. And it's like, but
that's the point.
Really in our plan. You know, our plan is not to think, oh, we'll go and live in Portugal. And 6 years later, we think, okay, we'll go back and live in London now. I think maybe for us, it was always like, once we'd made that move, it was highly unlikely, you know, we'd have to be a real extreme that we were going to choose to go back again.
The sentimental attachments have been preserved, but the practicalities that you could ditch, cars, buildings, gone.
Yeah, it's all stuff at the end of it. And sometimes stuff keeps you in places where you're actually no longer willing to be. And another things that we done, it was the idea of approaching this was not traumatic, but it was kind of challenging. And we asked friends, people of our own age, friends and peers and around, and the feedback was just, oh, why you living all this like that?
That's a whole other thing, isn't it? And
are you sure what you're going to do? And
yes, what are you going to do? That's a great
question. What are you going to do? And so we were like, okay, great.
Right.
Let's the house is on the market tomorrow. And we're done with this. Yeah.
Well, you know, we're running out of time today, but next time you come back, let's please go further into the emotional, psychological parts of moving. I know you work with the wonderful Deborah DeHaab as well. And it's an important matter, isn't it? Is dealing with the
emotional side of the whole thing.
And we strongly suggest to check Deborah programs anyway, because there are things that we also learn even before moving here with a simple conversation with her. There's tips that we had that we never thought about. I wish we knew before. And so we really recommend to check her out.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah. Shout out to Deborah, the expat whisperer. I think is what I described her as some time ago when we spoke. It was a long time ago now, but maybe the all of us, 4 of us, could be on the screen at some point.
Cool.
On one of your residency slots. Paul Richards. Let's just we'll get to the dad jokes and we'll play Dougie's taster. Dougie, thank you for joining us. You've just figured out how to watch the show on a smart TV in Montegordo. I bet you're glad to be here. When you see Dougie's video, you'll understand why he's glad to be here. It was tipping it down in Wales when he left. There's always a solution to a problem, says Paul. We found that the Portuguese official departments were friendly and helpful, but that's the Algarve. A little bit of a plug for the Algarve there, not like you at all, Paul. Pete, not a big fan of Portuguese furniture, or that from the Netherlands either. And he says, good call on not keeping a London property. There's a 2-year wait for court appointments, problem tenants, and you are FX indeed there over there. Okay, yeah, well, I think there's going to be a lot more of that in the post all over the world in these coming times, of course. Be sure, Marcus, thank you. Be sure to consult a Portuguese accountant while creating your long-term timeline. There are tax implications selling your US home after you become a Portuguese resident. So many things to think about. Yeah, time for a spreadsheet. So interesting to hear the journey of others. Ours was 110% emotional and 17 years in the making, with an element of practicality towards the end. Sounds like, talking of Spielberg earlier on, that sounds like a movie, doesn't it? 17 years in the making, 110% emotional. 100% relate to Fab's comments as to what we now know. Hindsight is a wonderful thing, but there are a lot of lovely people here with a wealth of experience to share, a generosity we haven't experienced before. That's lovely, isn't it? Dave and Debbie, good morning to you. Lovely to have you here. I know you watch quite often and don't necessarily comment, so all you lovely lurkers, thank you when you make comments. It's great to hear from you. Carl, we now have some fake questions running in this chat. No, I think Lord Gilchrist is a real person and not a bot. And that slightly strange question is a real one, I'm sure. Do you buy furniture? I have some red leather Natuzzi sofas. Are they collectible?
Natuzzi?
Yeah.
They're good quality, they're Italian.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm thinking that's a no. I'm thinking that's a, you know what? The global nobles might need those couple of sofas. Get in touch with them. They're here. Yeah. Portugal is my forever country too. Now that we agree on that, when are we going to meet in person? That's a Portuguese person saying that Portugal is their forever country, a bit like you, Lord Gilchrist. Once you settle somewhere over 50, you're most likely to stay there. Is that a fact, Pete?
I don't know about that. I'm in my 30s.
It's going to be ages. Yeah, Fabrizio, you would know nothing about that. It's a long time since you have to even
20 years or so.
Worry about that. Absolutely. And Fiona, just to finish off, just talking to you about who you are and what you do before we have a little bit of levity and a palate cleanse with the dad jokes and Dougie's 2-minute taster, his latest. Fiona asked a lovely question earlier on. This was about what you're missing and not missing. So top 3 for each of you. It doesn't have to be specifically 3, but what sort of things are you missing? Moving from let's include Italy and London in this. What are the top 3 things you're missing, and what are the top 3 things you're not missing?
Well, okay. I'm gonna about Italy. I haven't lived in Italy since I was early 20, so I just
10 years then.
10 years ago. So in 10 years, a lot of things have changed. So about Italy, I miss my family,
of course.
But obviously, when I go after the 4th day, I'm ready to come back home. And I remember why I moved away a long time ago. So love them dearly. But what we miss about London most. There's weird stuff. Asian cuisine.
Right. Yes. Talking about Chinese restaurants yesterday. Yeah.
It's very specific, very
well, it's very specific, probably Chinese and
Malaysian and Hunan Chinese, Shandong Chinese, and all this other stuff that here seems to be still in the journey towards that. So Chinese and Malaysian, Thai, Vietnamese restaurants. The Asian cuisine is what we miss the most.
I think I'll go for
too bad then. Nothing too serious.
Nothing too serious. What we miss the occasional rainy afternoon in the public house, but
actually, another one I'd probably say. I mean, but I think there's enough places to go around Portugal. But obviously, museums and things like that in London.
Yeah,
that's one thing that London's always excelled about, just because but London's unique for that, you know. So
so the art scene, the collection, the National Galleries, all those free places that filled a lot of our
rainy afternoons when we didn't go
rainy afternoon when we're not going to the pub.
We're really getting a sense of your life in London. You're either drunk or appreciating art and culture on a rainy afternoon.
Or both at the same time.
Yes, I remember you two in the Victoria and Albert Museum when you'd gone drinking before the museum.
Cartwheels,
cartwheels through the by the
Yeah.
Buddhas there in the middle.
Yeah, it was me.
And do you both miss Wardour Street and clubbing, London clubbing life? Do you miss that?
Well, my London clubbing days, let's say, was the mid-90s.
Yeah.
The end of the 90s.
5 then. What are you talking about?
That's it. So I remember the vibrant, down up, be offbeat, a bit rough, a bit crazy, slightly dodgy London clubbing in the late. But it was all a bit, you know, some places were like a little bit skunkier and a bit of, I all felt, but then in the same place they used to go and used to be looking like a half fell down garage, and then there will be Mark Almond and George Michael that will be there, and all the. So it was sort of that sort of vibrant scene, which I then did not encounter later on at the time that we moved. We moved in 2018.
And I think that's
we will have rubbed shoulders in London clubs, honestly, with what you're talking about there. Absolutely.
I use a funny part actually, because I think that's also leads us to one of the reasons actually why we probably left as well, because I think there was a bit of it where we found it was become more sterile than the London we knew. You know, I moved there even earlier, and it was all a bit cutting edge, and then as it got a bit cleaner and nicer, and you know what I mean, there wasn't sort of all that.
I do. The dirt box, you know, the dirt box warehouse parties, the WAG Club, Heaven, all of those. Yeah, that was a time, wasn't it? And that time
exactly.
And as Pete's saying here, a lot of the places you miss are gone. So there you go. And the sense I get with your answers to Fiona's excellent question there is that really you miss some icing, but there's not much cake.
No, it's true. It's harder now as time goes on to think about the big things. You know, you think about some very big things when you first move, and then suddenly after time you think, was I really bothered about that so much? I mean, the quick 3 pluses, if you want 3 pluses, I think that the lifestyle helps. It's a much easier, simpler thing. Once you get used to it, I'd be interested now to see how I go. Well, we have probably we went back to Berlin, which is a little bit more chaotic, not probably as chaotic as London in a certain sense. And it was true that suddenly it felt like, oh, you have to fit in and do this and do that. Whereas here, you know, you just kind of go with the flow through things. And so it'll be interesting now to go back when we do eventually go back to London, which we haven't been back to for now 4 years, to see, you know, how that comparison is. I mean, obviously you can't turn around and say that we've been in Lisbon, just the ability to go down to the beach and the weather and everything else, you can't say that doesn't come into it. Of course it comes into it. You know, there's a big factor there. That's a very different lifestyle. Third one, it's a good one, which would be
about here. Well, I guess social dynamics.
Yeah, it's true. You get to meet people, you get to know people very easily. You know, even around here now, the shops will say hello to you. I might go to a restaurant I've not been to for a year. The waiter will still say hi to me as I pass.
There's a question that used to pop out always in London after 22 seconds that you met someone new, and there was that question saying, "So what is it that you do?" Which in between brackets means, "So how much money do you actually earn?" Where do you fit in this scale of value connected to your earnings, connected to how chic you feel like? And this is a question that doesn't exist.
I noticed it's quite with American expats who I have the pleasure to know many. The question, I think they're glad to have put that question behind them. You know, what do you do? But when you're an expat, sometimes the question comes up, what did you used to do? As a way of retro engineering that question. Another one for you that I missed earlier on: where can you buy a lazy boy chair? Baddie needs to get one, and T-Duck's quite interested if you know the answer to that. Where would you get a massive fridge and a lazy boy chair, the two icons of American culture? Would you know the answer to that?
May I probably ask, what is a lazy boy chair?
Oh my goodness, that is such an Italian response to a very American question there. We'll leave that hanging, I think, Fabrizio. And,
next show.
Yes, next show we'll solve that. He's writing it down. It's gonna surface.
I'm good. Look on a piece of paper.
Okay, lazy boy. It's I've seen him in movies and in pop videos. It's an iconic piece of American furniture, second or level with the huge walk-in fridge with its own plumbing and ice making facilities and God knows what else inside. Probably a TV screen and connected to the internet now. All right, dad jokes, because it's 10:10, chaps. We perhaps need to. That flew by, didn't it? Okay, I want to see how dad jokes work within the Italian consciousness here, or a hybrid of a Brummie and Italian consciousness. Let's see how it goes. I was a poor golfer when I was young, but after years of play and practice, I am no longer young. Only faced. Oh, no, they've broken a smile and a little giggle there. I don't have a girlfriend, but I know a girl who would get really mad if she heard me say that. I'm not sure we really understand that one, do we?
Yeah, no.
We're still trying to work that out.
Breathe of cold hair, but yeah.
Okay. My mother-in-law was over for dinner and asked, "Why does the dog keep looking at me?" I said, "Because you're using his plate." Now that is funny. I don't know. I don't know if it's the same thing with mother-in-laws in Italy. Is there a mother-in-law joke culture there as well as a dad joke culture?
I guess there's a widespread hate generally, but I don't know about jokes.
Of an interfering mother-in-law, which I guess could be quite intense. You've had an Italian mother-in-law,
yeah, especially if the mother-in-law. Oh no, I would say it could be worse from the boy's side. Talking about heterosexual couple from the boy's side rather than the girl's side. But no, that I believe that both seems to be quite. The mother is always a very present,
protective,
present figure.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, it could be challenging.
Fantastic! It's been so great hanging out with you both this morning. You will come back, won't you? It was a stunning debut. A lovely opening there, and Baddy, who asked the question about the lazy boy, we'll come back to you. We'll come back to you on that, Baddy. I'm sure we can, if we have to, we will launch a special Good Morning Portugal inquiry on where to find a lazy boy. I'll tell you what, there might be a little income stream in that, and importing them across the Atlantic for those.
I believe so. Yeah, we do prepay order only, but yeah.
Yes, okay. I think Fabrizio's already into that idea, Paddy. So get in touch. Here is the website link, Project Lisbon. So let me put that onto the screen now. And thank you with a great big muito obrigado to both of you. And looking forward to seeing you again soon. All the best to you.
We will do.
All right, we are going to leave today with a taste of Doug. Who doesn't like a taste of Doug first thing in the morning? Thank you, everybody, for your wonderful questions, contributions, and input. And we'll see you tomorrow for a bit of Feel Good Friday with Jenny B. Thanks, Fabrizio. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, everybody. Ciao for now.
Good morning, Portugal. Yeah, there's nothing quite like November in Blighty, is there? It's the epitome of glib. It's pouring it down with rain. It's miserable, it's cold, and it's just basically time for me to get on the plane and head out towards the Algarve. No, just look at that. It's horrible. It really is. There's a story of Barry, Robin and Morris Gibb of Bee Gees fame. And they lived in a street not dissimilar to this one. And they lived opposite to Chippy, not dissimilar to the one you see in the frame. On a horrible, blustery November evening like this, they looked at one another and said, "What on earth are we actually doing here?"
I'm so weary from holding this load, but it's only love for you that I walk this lonely road. I must follow the wind, follow the wind.
Yeah, this kind of weather the Scots have actually got a word for. It's quite easy to understand. It's drich, and it's very similar to an English word, which is blech.
I must follow the wind, follow the wind as the wind gently blows in my hair. I must follow the wind, follow the wind as the wind gently blows in my hair.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP. Hey, Gumpers.